Hi, I'm Candace and this is my show. I am really delighted to be starting on this journey with you. This is just such an exciting venture for me. And I would like to talk a little bit about me and who I am and what drives me so that you can understand why we have chosen the format we've chosen for this show. I am the daughter of a man who was born in Amsterdam, Holland. And when he was 4 years old, Hitler's armies invaded and freedom as my father knew it ended. Starvation, torture, fear of his very life, bombings, strafings, all of it. This is what my father suffered through the bulk of his childhood, and then he ended up in a concentration camp. Because of that, my father raised his children knowing the value of freedom, the value of this great nation that we call America, and more importantly, the value of the American spirit. And that is what we're celebrating on the Candace Salima Show. It has been an interesting journey in my life. Truly, I have seen some of the great historic moments, and now we sit at a historic crossroads in America now. And so to begin my show at this time in American history is very exciting. We are going to be talking to all people from all walks of life. I won't just be talking about politics. I will be talking to businessmen and musicians and artists and sports figures. It really doesn't matter as long as they decided to take charge of their lives rather than life take them away. Those are the people I want to celebrate. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Michael Lee, who is the U.S. candidate for the Republican Party, and he truly, truly took on a giant and won. And welcome to the show. Today we are speaking with Mike Lee, who is the U.S. Senate candidate for the Republican Party. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. I have heard you speak many times about the U.S. Constitution, and anyone who knows me knows how much I love our founding document. And I know that it has inspired over 80 constitutions worldwide. And so for what is going on in America right now, and it is being dismissed so often, tell me how it came to be so important to you, because, I mean, you are well known for the fact that you love the Constitution, have spent your career defending it.
Well, my dad was a lawyer, and he was also a professor of constitutional law. And I used to watch him argue in the U.S. Supreme Court, and we used to talk about the Constitution around the dinner table. So I think I was about 30 before I realized not everybody does that in their homes, but it's a tradition I've nonetheless continued with my own children, and it's always been important to me as a lawyer and as a citizen. Yeah,
you know, I wish more parents would talk to their kids about the Constitution and a republic versus a socialist nation or a communist nation. You know, that's a good thing that your parents did, and obviously you came out right, so it works.
That part's debatable, but we'll see.
That's debatable. Okay. Right now, we are facing with an ever-encroaching federal government, huge overreaches at every level, and states' rights have become an issue that are the basis of every argument that is happening in almost every state in the nation. Tell me where you stand on the rights of the federal government, how big it should be as opposed to states' rights, and what states are allowed to do for themselves.
What is arguably the most important feature of the Constitution is that it splits up the powers, splits it between three branches at the federal government level, but it also splits up power between the federal government on the one hand and the states on the other. You know, part of what we were rebelling against in the American Revolution was not just the idea of having a king, and not just the idea of taxation without representation. It was also a large, powerful, distant national government that had come to exercise so much power without any limits that it became sort of a tyrant. And our founding fathers were wary of that sort of thing. They didn't want it to happen again. And so they said, let's come up with a national government that is sufficiently powerful to take care of those things that are inherently national, like national defense, like regulating interstate and foreign trade, like bankruptcy laws, trademarks, copyrights, and patents. And let's leave all the other powers that don't have to be national to the states. That is perhaps the Constitution's most important feature, but it is also perhaps the most neglected feature today.
It really is. Now, that's Article 1, Section 8, right? That enumerates the powers?
Almost every power that Congress has is found in Article 1, Section 8. There are a few exceptions, but they are few. And it's the combination of Article 1, Section 8 coupled with the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment makes clear what I think was already implicit in the original Constitution, but it clarifies that powers not given to the United States in the Constitution and not prohibited to the states are reserved to the states.
Okay, it is very clear to all of us that have been paying attention that that is severely out of balance. So you have campaigned with the message that you will go back to Washington, D.C. and start setting things straight again. And you're going to work with Jim DeMint and what's the other gentleman's name that's in?
Look, there are lots of U.S. senators who, in one way or another, to one degree or another, share this viewpoint. I think there will be more this year with the elections happening all over the country. And I don't think it necessarily has to be limited just to Republicans, nor do I think it necessarily has to be an issue favored just by conservatives in general. This is something that should appeal to conservatives and liberals alike, to Republicans and Democrats alike. If what you believe, for example, I know you don't believe this, but there are those who believe that the best kind of health care reform would be one that would create a single-payer, government-funded, government-run health care system. If you believe that, arguably the best way to achieve that, and the quickest way to achieve that, would be through the states. So that's an area in which liberals could agree with conservatives that we need to send more power back to the states. There are arguably just as many liberals that are unhappy with Obamacare as there are conservatives, because they believe that it didn't go far enough, fast enough.
Right.
And so there is room for agreement here. There is room for reaching across the aisle. The important thing is that we identify these very real limits on federal power that we have never recognized to the degree that we should have in the last few decades.
I very much like that. I think everyone would that has been fighting this battle. We are going to break for a commercial, and then we will be right back, and we will be discussing with Mike Lee about immigration and this new, what I'm calling Stimulus 2. We'll be right back.